Spider-Man is the most recognizable superhero in the world, and even if you've never read a Marvel comic or seen a Marvel movie, you have at least heard of him. His story with Uncle Ben, while tragic, is legendary, and his fame has no doubt risen with the release of Disney's MCU Spider-Man Trilogy. While Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's interpretations of the character were both great in their own right, the MCU's fame, along with how long fans initially waited for him to appear in the MCU, made Tom Holland's character the most famous of the three. But there were flaws. Many fans had their own personal critique on the character, such as the fact that he depended a lot on others, and even calling Tom Holland's acting into question. But one problem I haven't seen nearly highlighted enough would be the triangulations that the movie pushes. Triangulations are a term made by Professor Claire Jean Kim, and it's a term that investigates the dynamics between characters in a production, mainly focusing on the character's race and gender. Typically in a triangulation, the characters at the top get the most attention by the plot, while the characters in the middle, or middleman characters, usually serve as a plot device to move the main character's story forward in some way. They get attention, there's no doubt, but they usually get stuck playing second fiddle to the character at the top. Then there's the ones at the bottom, who hardly get any relevance and are someone that the viewer will likely forget seeing upon the end of the movie. The MCU Spider-Man trilogy has a big problem with triangulations, as Tom Holland's Spider-Man, or Peter Parker, is usually at the top, with everybody else usually drawing the short straw. Take Peter and his friends for example. Most of them only serve a singular purpose and don't get much characterization, aside from being close to Peter. Ned, Peter's bestie, doesn't talk about his own interests or how things are going at home. He's just there to serve as Peter's guy in the chair, which also pushes the nerdy Asian stereotype that so many movies have seen. Unlike Ned, we never see MJ's family, and during most of the trilogy, aside from maybe the first installment, her character is completely dependent on Peter, as most of her defining moments are finding out that he's Spider-Man or having to say goodbye to him in No Way Home. I guess that in a triangulation between these three, Peter would be at the top because of how much we know about him, while Ned would be in the middle and MJ would be at the very bottom. But one thing about triangulations is that they're not consistent, and the rankings change as we change characters. The problem, however, lies with who's at the top, as in this trilogy and many other Hollywood films, the white everyman is at the top, while characters of other races and genders are usually at the bottom two tiers. And it's not to say that white people shouldn't get any focus within movies. They matter as much as everyone else. It's just how often they get spotlight over the rest of the cast. But we can't just solve the problem with letting more diverse characters get screen time without any characterization. We just have to show every character the same amount of attention, well, at least the characters who need it. Take Sony's Spider-Verse movies for example. While Miles is the lead and therefore gets the most attention, the rest of the cast doesn't revolve around him and have their own thing going on. Gwen is the main love interest, yeah, but she doesn't exist to help the main character. Actually, for most of the second movie, she goes against him for her own reasons, and only changes to his side when she makes her own revelation. And again, while everyone doesn't get the same amount of relevance, they don't revolve around the main character, and we know who they are without Miles. Some of the characters actually break archetypes we'd expect from them, taking what would have been a tired rivalry between two men over one girl, to a beautiful friendship between both people who want what's best for each other, with or without the girl being involved.
The whole point of being Spider-Man is your independence. Being your own boss, you don't need all this.
Then why are you here?
Looking out for my drummers, all.
I want to be in a band. I want to see my friends, and I need a watch to do that.
Guys, come on.
All right, squashed. Just don't enlist till you know what war you're fighting.
Even the evil characters have their own motives that don't specifically involve ruining Miles' life, with one small exception, but he has a good reason. The villains in the MCU trilogy don't get nearly this much, as most of them just want to ruin his life for the sake of ruining his life. And while triangulations still exist in the Sony Spider-Verse, they're much more varied, as Miles isn't always at the top, and every character has something special that they offer. Compare Gwen from Spider-Verse to MJ in the MCU. Gwen wants to help Miles, but her moral code stops her, and she's worried about more than Miles, such as her father. With MJ, we just get someone who's usually on board with his plans, except for when it means that she won't be his boo anymore. It's all just very unfortunate, as all it would have taken to solve these problems was to make each character more independent. Make Ned's relationship in the second movie mean that he can't focus on Peter's adventures as much as he used to, or make MJ question her relationship with Peter, as being a superhero's girlfriend means that she has a target on her back. Obviously the problems can't be solved that easily, but it's a start to giving them a more prominent role and a bigger arc in this three-part story. But what do you guys think? Leave your opinions or your possible solutions to this problem in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.